treasure hunters who have long searched around Castle Gap, Texas, for Maximilian's lost hoard may find the following little-known tale worth their attention. It comes, in part, from the August 1965 issue of the now long out-of-print The Prospectors Club newsletter, a periodical dedicated to treasure hunting. Roughly 13 miles off Biloxi, Mississippi, in the waters of Mississippi Sound, lies an island first sighted in 1699 by a 5-man patrol from the French army. For reasons no one now remembers, the soldiers marked it on their maps as Horn Island. The island stretches some 13 miles in length, its width ranging from a mile to 3/4 of a mile, tapering into narrow sandy spits at each end. Its central stretch is cloaked in slash pine, broken by great sand dunes rising up to 30 feet, and dotted with broad lagoons, ponds, and swampy tracts. The most fascinating and least publicized tale linked to Horn Island tells of the hidden gold of Archduke Maximilian von Habsburg and Archduchess Carlotta. Maximilian and Carlotta had ruled Mexico for less than a year when the American Civil War ended, and hardened Union veterans began turning their gaze toward Mexico's troubles. Benito Juarez, whom Maximilian's French troops had pushed from the presidency, still resisted from his mountain strongholds. With the blessing of the United States, Napoleon III soon pulled his army, and backing away from Maximilian, his Mexican puppet. Amid this crisis, Carlotta, escorted by General Juan Almonte, one of Maximilian's most loyal field marshals, set out by ship for France to plead directly with Napoleon III. Aboard the vessel was a cache of French gold that Maximilian and Carlotta were desperate to remove from Mexico. The ship, however, wrecked off Horn Island. Before it went down, General Almonte managed to save the treasure and secretly bury it on the island. There, Carlotta lost her sanity, and Almonte himself died on March 23, 1869. If nothing else, Horn Island would seem a promising place for those still chasing Maximilian's treasure. Another story that lends weight to Civil War-era treasure legends concerns the workings of the U.S. Paymaster Department during that conflict. The vast sums in cash routinely carried by various paymasters strongly support the likelihood of certain treasure sites, and few doubt that 2 saddlebags crammed with gold and silver coins lie buried at the Bryce's Crossroads battlefield in Lee County, Mississippi. On June 10, 1864, a Union paymaster serving with Brigadier General Samuel Sturgis watched as Federal troops were cut to pieces by Confederate forces under Major General Nathan Bedford Forrest. This paymaster, George Bain, had 2 saddlebags of gold and silver coins in a supply wagon. Fearing they would fall into enemy hands, he halted the wagon just west of the Tishomingo Creek Bridge, carried the bags into nearby woods, dug a hole with his knife, and hid them there. The Union Army soon had to retreat. On the withdrawal toward Memphis, Confederate pursuers harried them constantly. Bain was badly wounded in one skirmish. He survived, but lost both an arm and a leg. He spent the next several years in Rome, New York, slowly recovering. In May 1871, the disabled Bain appeared at Fred Cole's general store near Bryce's Crossroads. After buying food for a week, he camped near the Tishomingo Creek Bridge. For the next 3 weeks, locals saw him hobbling through the woods west of the bridge, clearly searching for something. At last, Bain returned to the store to say he was leaving. By then, he and Cole had become friendly, and Bain revealed his identity and purpose. He was hunting the saddlebags of coins he had buried near the bridge in 1864. He told Cole he had hidden them under a very old-looking tree with 3 distinct bends in its trunk, about 175 feet due west of the bridge. Despite his efforts, he could no longer locate the tree. After explaining this, he said farewell to Cole and disappeared, never to be seen there again. By 1988, a new bridge stood precisely where the old one had been, the earlier structure having remained in service long after the Civil War. The present bridge lies roughly 200 yards south of Bryce's Crossroads. The surrounding land is still wooded, though many trees have been felled in the last 100 years. The saddlebags themselves have surely rotted away, but the coins, so far as anyone knows, still lie buried in the soil. Because Civil War relics figure so prominently in treasure hunting today, a few guidelines can greatly aid modern searchers. Those who have difficulty locating Civil War sites, many of which go by multiple names, can consult the Library of Congress Geography and Map Division, Reference and Bibliography section in Washington, DC 20540, and inquire about their publication, Civil War Maps, and Annotated List. Anyone seeking information on a specific soldier who served in either the U.S. Army or the Confederate States Army can write, including the man's name, rank, army, and dates of service, to the Central Reference Division, NNR, National Archives, GSA, Washington, D.C. 20408. Hunting Civil War relics is a lively and sometimes lucrative pursuit, given present-day prices, and it is also highly educational, but it calls for some basic rules. First, most major Civil War battlefields are now state or federal parks and are closed to treasure hunters. However, much of the adjacent land is privately held, and permission must always be obtained before searching. Second, read widely: military records, histories, diaries, and talk with people who help organize reenactments of particular battles. Third, study the campaign maps of both armies, then compare them with modern topographical maps to pinpoint gun positions, troop movements, and camp locations. Fourth, respect landowners' rights, use a good metal detector, and leave the ground in good condition. Treat any unexploded shells with the utmost care. Nearly any military base will help render such ordnance safe. By following these principles, Civil War relic hunting can remain both rewarding and safe. Mississippi's shoreline is short, so few would expect pirate legends there, yet several known treasure caches are linked to the coasts of Harrison, Jackson, and Hancock counties. One tale in particular concerns two such caches, one of which has reportedly been recovered. Strong evidence that the second almost certainly exists. In the early 1800s, an Irish pirate named Patrick Scott captained a brigantine with a crew of 30. While his ship lay at Ocean Springs, Mississippi for repairs, he approached a local fisherman named Grow. Scott might easily have seized what he wanted, but in those days pirates were careful not to alienate shoreline communities that could serve as safe havens or repair bases. Instead, Scott asked Grow to sell him a hamper of oysters. Grow provided the oysters but refused any payment. Grateful, Scott invited him aboard the brig, where a celebration was underway. Scott explained that the crew had just divided their plunder and were preparing to sail for Ireland. Before leaving, however, they had hidden 2 caches of treasure ashore, and Scott intended to give one of them to Grow in thanks for his kindness. He led Grow to the beach at Ocean Springs and pointed out a particular magnolia tree beneath which one of the caches lay. Thereafter, Grow and his family used gold coins to pay for virtually everything they needed. Patrick Scott is believed to have sailed for Ireland, and there is no record that he ever returned to Mississippi. Somewhere along the beach near Ocean Springs in Jackson County, a second pirate cache may still be buried, inviting investigation. Another site of interest to treasure hunters lies near Natchez, Mississippi, in a place called the Devil's Punch Bowl. This several-acre bowl-shaped depression, thought to have been created by a meteor thousands of years ago, has spawned numerous stories of hidden wealth. Pirates from the Gulf of Mexico once moved up the Mississippi River to hide themselves and their plunder there, and river pirates, land bandits, and other outlaws also used it as a natural refuge. Some caches were undoubtedly retrieved by their owners, but given the violent lives such men led, many likely never returned to reclaim their hoards. For modern searchers, careful local research at the Devil's Punch Bowl might still uncover the remnants of this outlaw legacy.